Hi, my name is Jessica and I'm the Appliance Guru, and today we are here and we are going to learn about convection cooking in this wonderful new kitchen that was built by Evo Design Center in Huntington. What we have here is a convection oven. Now basically what convection is that you are cooking with air. In the back of your oven you have a fan. Now behind that fan is another heating element, and what that does is it enables us to cook multiple foods at the same time with no flavor transfer in dramatically less time. Here I'd like to introduce Ruth, and this is her beautiful new kitchen, and she's going to help me today, and I'm going to also explain to her all the different features of the oven and how to use it, why to use it, and when to use it. Okay, Ruth, what we've done is that I've set the oven to true convection at 400. Now I set it at 400 degrees because we're going to be doing multi-racking. Now although these are types of food that will cook practically at the same time, I'm going to put them in at the same time. If we were cooking things like vegetables and potatoes and maybe a pork roast, which you can do all at the same time with your salmon and your cookies, I wouldn't be putting the food into the oven at the same time because they all have different cooking times. So what we're going to do is right now is we're going to put the food into the oven, and we're going to put the salmon first, and then we're going to take the cookies and we're just going to put them on the bottom shelf, and we're going to take our timer and we're going to set it for 8 minutes. Now the reason why I do it at 8 minutes is because I find that you can never undo what's already been done. So when you're looking at a package, if it says cook it between 7 to 10 minutes, I always put it on the lesser side at 7 minutes. And then I check it after the timer has gone off. And if it's done, then I pull it out of the oven. But if it's not done, then I'll cook it for like another 2 minutes. Remember, you can't undo what you already did. What I'm going to teach you right now is the difference between the different modes that you have on here. Now you'll see that you have 2, 4, 6, you have 9 different modes on this oven, and I'm sure that it can be very confusing. Basically, you're going to be using true convection 99% of the time. The only time that you're not going to be using convection is if you're doing something that cannot have any air movement in the oven cavity. So if you're doing a souffle or a water bath, something like that, then you would use regular bake. If not, then you're always going to be using true convection. Now, the trick to understanding the different modes is it's not what you're cooking, but it's what you're cooking in. So when you're using true convection, you're only going to be wanting to use a pan that has low sides, because if you're using a high-sided pan, the air cannot penetrate through the sides of the pan, and from here down, everything will be raw, and from here up, everything will be cooked. Now, the difference between true convection and convection bake is that you have, with convection bake, you have your air going and the fan is circulating, but the heat is coming from the bottom of your oven. So when you're using convection bake, you want to use something that has a high side to it, because now the heat is coming from the bottom and it's going to cook from the bottom up.
For example, a cheesecake?
Exactly.
You're putting it around.
Exactly.
A pan that has high sides?
Cheesecakes, lasagnas, bundt cakes, any type of high-sided pan, you're going to be using convection bake. Now we have convection roast. On convection roast, you use convection roast when you are basically roasting something, a roast beef, a turkey, a chicken, any type of meats, any type of roast, a turkey. And the difference between convection roast and roast is that you're using the aid of the fan as well as the heat. And what also is happening is that the broiler element is pulsating on and off. So that sears all of your juices on the inside. No basting, no covering your turkey anymore, no opening up your oven door to find out if anything is done or not, because we give you such a large viewing window here, so you'll be able to look in and see what is going on. So now we know the difference between convection roast and regular roast. We know the difference between convection bake and true convection. Can you tell me what the difference between true convection and convection bake is?
Well, true convection would be just the hot air blowing in the cavity all around with no element on the bottom heating the pan.
Exactly.
And you would use a low-sided pan because you want the air to get all around the food product.
Exactly.
So you don't want to have too high sides. And if you want to make something with high sides, as we said before, cheesecake, you would use the convection bake, which also heats from the bottom element to the bottom of the pan.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Now the next mode that we have is convection broil and regular broil. Again, the difference is that with convection broil, you're using the aid of the fan. With broil, you're just using your top element. Now, to know the difference between the two, very simple. You're going to use convection broil when you're making something that does not have to be flipped. So, salmon, any type of very thin pork chop, chicken cutlet, something of that nature. Things that don't get flipped are when you're using the convection broil because you have the air circulating around everything. With regular broil, you just have your heat coming from the top and you don't have the aid of the fan. Now, with convection cooking, there's a formula that needs to be used. And when you're trying to figure out from a regular recipe to convert it to a convection recipe, what you do is that you calculate the temperature 25 degrees.
Again. Sorry, you're kind of stumbling over words. Ready? And 3, 2, 1, go.
Now, the most important thing that you need to do with convection is that you have to calculate.
And 3, 2, 1, and go.
Now, the most important thing about convection is that you have to convert your recipe from a conventional recipe to a convection recipe. And the way that you do that is that you take the temperature. If it says that it's 375 degrees, you want to lessen it by 25 degrees. So the recipe would call for 350 degrees. If it calls for 9 to 11 minutes, I would put it on 9 minutes. You do it 10% less cooking time, 25 less degrees on the temperature. And that's how you calculate your conversion from conventional to convection recipes.
So when I'm cooking, I could put several layers of my cookie dough, 3 sheets at once in the oven, and
Absolutely.
do it for quicker time than I would take on my
Absolutely.
older version stove.
Absolutely.
ovens. Thank you.
And that is the beauty of convection. Okay, now the cookies are done, and we're going to take them out, and we're going to lay them to rest. Okay, now we're going to take the salmon out, and look how beautiful that looks. That's perfect. It's nice and pink. The cookies are nice and brown. We will not taste chocolate in our salmon, and we will not taste salmon in our chocolate. And that is the beauty of convection.